title of the album, Little by Little, is very significant to me because it's a lesson that I had to learn in my life, to take things one day at a time, you know, and not to be so concerned about tomorrow. And I think that's an important lesson for us all to learn. Let's start with Halfway Home, which is the opening track on the album. Halfway Home is a very inspired song, and when you listen to it, you can hear the influence of many people. You can hear the influence, especially of the Beatles. When I first wrote the song, I thought, oh, maybe it's a bit too simple, or maybe it's a bit too sweet. I'm trying to, you know, think in a more clever way. And in the end, you give up all that stuff and you say, no, surrender to it. This is how it's meant to be. On this album, I wanted to put on some of my kind of upbeat, finger-picking tunes, songs that have their roots in Merle Travis and Jerry Reed and Chet Atkins. But there's some tunes like the Welsh Tornado, the Mighty Mouse, Locomotivation. Those tunes are like, you know, pretty breakneck, full in-your-face, finger-picking tunes, you know, and yet there's melodic sections in them. And I wanted to approach it that way, you know. Locomotivation is a song that I wrote when I said to myself one day, I've got to write myself a good opener that has everything. A lot of people have come up to me when I started playing that song and said, wow, you wrote, it sounds like a pop song, but it's a finger-picking tune. How did you do that? I don't know, I just did it. Haba Na Haba, the Little by Little, the title track of the album, there are two versions, and the main version is the version with Pam Rose telling the story, singing the song. We had such a great time recording that. We stacked the vocals and with Anthony Snape and Pam and we tried to sing like a choir, you know, and build it. And I tried to approach the electric guitar solo a bit like Santana, that kind of slightly left of center approach. The band is Victor Wooten on bass, Darryl Tibbs on percussion, and J.D. Blair on drums. The instrumental version, though, was how I wrote the song. So I wanted to be pretty true to how the composer intended, as Chet used to say. There were some of the other songs that kind of happened along the way. Just when I thought I had the album finished, I'd write another song like Tears for Jerusalem. It's a bit like my way of musically weeping for what's happening in that area. My friends, the Endless Road Strings, Tina, the second violin player, wrote a part for Tears for Jerusalem, and we performed it together a couple of times live, and I said, oh man, I think we've got to do it with the strings on. So I went back and redid it again live in the studio with the string quartet. We kind of quadrupled it, so they sound like a big string section. It's actually just a quartet, multi-tracked. The Welsh Tornado is dedicated to my friend Gareth Pearson. First time Gareth came to America, it was really great to observe how he just floored everybody. And a guy made a comment. He said, man, he came through this room like a hurricane. I thought, he's a tornado, the Welsh Tornado. There's an interesting thing about that song. There's a key change in the middle of it, and I actually, on the recording, and I do this on stage too, I have a capo on the end of the neck. There's one little passage where I set this up, and then I have a split second to grab that capo and drop it on the second fret, and then carry on. People are going to think that I actually stopped and dropped that in and cut it in, but I didn't. I did it live. I had a lot of comments and emails from people who bought my live album who said, well, we're waiting for the studio version of Ruby's Eyes and The Finger Lakes and Papa George and Jolly Swagman, songs that I'd written on the tour and then made it on the live album, but I never did record them in the studio. So I thought You know, I know those songs are out there on my live album, but I'll do a studio version for people who want to hear just a studio version, because there's something really intimate about when you hear just the guitar with a microphone in front of it and there's nothing else. It's really, especially for people who like to listen to my albums with headphones on. That was my choice, to do that for my fans and for the people who really care about those songs. I started getting ideas about wanting to do some duets on this album, and I took a lot of kind of chances with it because I had a lot of good songs that I wanted to work with. I had Moon River, which I've been playing as an instrumental, and then one day I was playing it in my house, and Rick Price was a guest in my house at that time, and he started singing it, and I said, oh man, that sounds beautiful. And so we ended up doing it. You know, we went in and recorded it, and pretty much in one take. You know, he's just such a good singer. But I wanted to do it as instrumentally as well, and it's kind of unusual that you would get an album that had two versions of the same song, but it's so different. I had my friend John Knowles on the road with me a little, just playing and hanging out, and we worked up some nice arrangements of Aint Heavy and the Tennessee Waltz. So I said, come on, let's go and record them. So that's what we did. We just put them down, and pretty much how we play them on stage. I really wanted to have Doyle Dykes on this album. I thought about Doyle's playing style, his arranging skills, and his knowledge of chords and stuff. And so I said to him, why don't we do Carole King's Tapestry, and let's work in like some really beautiful key changes. And so we started actually arranging that over the phone together from on tour, you know. I did this private show for the Navajo people in Utah, and I was so inspired that night I wrote a song called The Trails, and right when we had all the album done and all finished and mastered, I said, The Trails has got to be on this album too. I recorded it one day with my little Maton guitar, and I listened to it and I said, I'm not getting what I need, and I think it's to do with more bass coming from the guitar and more overtones. So I had just purchased a brand new Martin D28. I took that into the studio with new strings on it, and I got exactly what I needed. All those beautiful overtones and the real great sustain and everything. And then it was a mad rush to, do we still have time to get it on the album? The Swahili proverb of little by little your pot will be filled is inspiring to me, because the more I live my life, the more I realize that what I need comes to me, but little bit by little bit, one day at a time. So I was really, really pleased that all these elements came together, that I could get that message across through my music, and, you know, get a good positive message out there to people. So the album was a joy to make, really. It just took a lot longer than any other project I've ever done, purely because the songs kept coming. I started the project not in good shape, and so, but I ended it in wonderful shape. So my word, is in wonderful shape.